Good day everyone, I'm Kayla Sanchez from BSCS Study and this is my report about socialization in Chinese. What is socialization? In sociology, socialization is the process of internalizing the norms and ideologies of societies. Socialization encompasses both learning and teaching and is thus the means by which social and cultural continuity are attained. And these are the Chinese greetings. The Chinese greeting is not politely when greeting another person. Ni hao ma means how are you is frequently used greeting. And an informal greeting is either chile ma means have you eaten and the response is either chile means yes or mi you means not yet. Handshakes are the standard casual greeting. In a formal situation, people bow slightly or nod politely to greet one another family. If seated, the Chinese will stand up out of respect when they are introduced to someone. To show a high level of respect, friends might use the terms Lao means old and Xiao means young with or instead of titles. When first meeting a Chinese person in a rural area, it is common to be invited to join for a meal. This is an old greeting that offers politeness. In Chinese, it is considered impolite to greet a friend with a comment that could be perceived to have negative connotations such as you look tired. Chinese names usually consist of a one-syllable family name followed by a one or two-syllable given name. A person is either addressed by a full name or by the family name and title. The Chinese equivalents of Mr. and Miss, for example, Wan Yan Jun, can also called Mr. Wang. In Chinese, invitations are usually extended for formal gatherings, but otherwise, it is common to drop by an unannounced. When you are invited, one of the generally important prompts being more than a few minutes late is considered impolite. Gifts in Chinese are not accepted from the strangers, but small gifts may be given from friends like tea, cigarette, fruits, chocolates, coke, and wine. In business, if you are meeting someone in a business context, shake hands and smile. If it is someone older than you with some sort of rank, you may do a very slight bow from the shoulders opposed to a full-fledged bow from the waist. It is a sign of respect. Do accept business cards with two hands. It is a sign of respect. That's all. Thank you for watching.
Theaters, ballet, films, and cultural monuments all provide recreation in cities. Films are popular and average Chinese attends more than 10 each year. Sports are popular and facilities are found in most cities. Favorites include table tennis, swimming, and soccer. Chinese people have always enjoyed activities like hiking, swimming, and other winter sports, badminton, volleyball, gymnastics, and other forms of martial arts, and table tennis. Now, new activities are also becoming popular among young people such as rock climbing, bowling, skateboarding, and golf. Parks and courtyards are often filled in the morning, practicing Tai Chi Chuan. It is a traditional form of foreshadowing that provides exercise and meditation. People enjoy gathering for discussion are card and table games. Many ancient and popular games originated in China, including Mahjong or Mahjong. I know that some of you know that Mahjong means and which is it is the nation's most popular games. Table games. Wei Qi, known and Go. It is a strategy game played in more educated circles.
Good day everyone, I am Crashel Ansolis and I'm here to discuss the holidays and celebrations in Chinese literature. The New Year celebration in Chinese is centered around removing the bad and the old and welcoming the new and the good. Ito din yung time ng pag-worship nila ng ancestors, exorcists, evil spirit, and pray for good harvest. Sinaselebrate din nila ang Chinese by the communities outside the country. Ang pagsaselebrate din nila ng Chinese New Year ay to celebrate the usher out the old year and bring forth the luck and prosperity of the new one. Therefore, often include firecrackers, fireworks, at nagsusuot din sila ng mga red clothes and decoration. Karamihan sa kanila ay nagbibigay ng pera na nakalagay sa red envelope. In additional, Chinese New Year is a time to rest and to visit family members. Paano nga ba sinaselebrate ang International Women's Day sa China? In modern China, Women's Day is not actually a public holiday, which means that people do not generally get the day off. However, many employers will still take this holiday as an opportunity to show gratitude to their female employees. Every year, ang China ay nagsa-celebrate ng International Women's Day on March 8. Different from the day's original focus of celebrating women's economic, political, and social achievements. Women's Day becomes simple an occasion for men to express their love for women in manner similar to a combination of Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. Many Chinese in cities celebrate these two holidays, which have been introduced from Western countries. Labor Day in China is a short of cheaper family holiday. During these 3 days of holidays, the Chinese go to the country para ma-meet ang kanilang friends and nag-a-attend sila ng mga solemn events. Karamihan sa kanila ay bumibisita sa theaters and exhibition. Also, ang mga daan sa kanila ay nag-hold ng mga demonstration and performances. Confucius was a Chinese philosopher, poet, and politician of the Spring and Autumn period who has traditionally considered the paragon of Chinese sage. Confucius' teaching and philosophy underpin East Asian culture and society, remaining influential across China and East Asia to this day. Sun Yat-sen was a Chinese statesman, physician, and political philosopher. Siya ang kauna-unahang first provisional president of the Republic of China and the first leader of the Kuomintang. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Keisha Franshidi Gupo, and the topic that I will discuss is about the Analects of Confucius. Confucius is a Chinese philosopher and educator, one of the most important individuals in Chinese history, and one of the most influential figures in world history. His name in Chinese is Kongzi. As the author of the Analects, Confucius gave the world message of wisdom concerning man and his relation to others. His teachings now are the basis of the Chinese social relationships and behavior. Confucius' sayings were handed down through several generations from mouth to mouth, and it was only much later that they were actually written down. Compiled by disciples of Confucius in the centuries following his death in 479 BCE. The Analects of Confucius is a collection of aphorisms and historical anecdotes embodying the basic values of the Confucian tradition, such as learning, morality, ritual decorum, and filial piety. Reflecting the model eras of Chinese antiquity, the Analects offers valuable insights into successful governance and the ideal organization of society. Filled with humor and sarcasm, it reads like a casual conversation between teacher and student, emphasizing the role of the individual in the attainment of knowledge and the value of using historical events and people to illuminate moral and political concepts. Confucius' teachings focus on cultural and peaceful pursuits and the characteristic of benevolent and culturally distinguished government. He also discusses ancestor worship and other rites performed for the spirits of the dead. The single most influential philosophical work in all of Chinese history, the Analects of Confucius, has shaped the thought and custom of Chinese and neighboring countries for centuries. Burton Watson's concise translation uses the Pinyin romanization system and keeps explanatory notes to a minimum, yet his intimate knowledge of the Confucian tradition and precise attention to linguistic detail capture the original text, elegance, cogency, and wit.
Good day, everyone. My name is Christian Paul Zibalinkit, and I'm going to discuss the tenfold principle of Taoism. First, never to overdo things and never to act against nature. One should not abuse, misuse, and overuse oneself. 2. Never to be bewildered or perplexed. Here lies the principle of level-headedness, calmness, composure, and coolness. 3. Never to meddle or interface with other people's affairs, and never to violate and encroach upon the rights of others. Respect other people's rights and their privacy. 4. Never to act excess and never to desire too much. This is the principle of moderation. Moderate activity and desire. 5. Never to begin one's work at the wrong time and never to stop one's activity beyond the appropriate time. This is the threefold principle of proper timing, anticipation, and foresight. 6. Never to rush think, decision, and action. An individual who is calm and composed can think clearly and can decide wisely. 7. Never to discriminate against anybody and never to play favorites. This is the principle of brotherhood, equality, and goodwill. 8. Never to be boastful and self-conceited. This is the principle of humility. 9. Never to use force or violence and never to be daring. This is the principle of non-violence. 10. Never to kill people and never to harbor hatred or animosity. This is the principle of compromise, diplomacy, and forgiveness.
Good day, I'm Jefferson De Silva from BSC Study, and I'm here to give a brief explanation about drinking alone beneath the moon. Drinking Alone Beneath the Moon was written around the year 743 by Li Po, who is widely considered to be one of the greatest poets in Chinese history. Written nearly 1300 years ago during the Tiang dynasty, the poetry of Li Po has been as familiar to readers in China and Japan as the poetry of Shakespeare is to Western audience. During the early 20th century, the poet Ezra found help introduce Li Po to readers of English with his meticulous and moving translation of many of Li Po's works. Drinking Alone Beneath the Moon begins by a setting scene. There are flowers in bloom, and poem's speaker finds a jar of wine. He takes note of the fact that there is no one else around to drink it with, and then proceed to pour a cup for himself.
I'm Kathleen Eugenio. Empty First by Tu Fu. Du Fu or Tu Fu, 712 to 770, Chinese poet regarded by many as the greatest Chinese poet. Du Fu was raised, according to the Confucian tradition, in family known for its scholar interest. Having failed the exam that would have assured him a government post, he spent much of his youth traveling around China. For a while, he was influenced by Taoist philosophy and by the poet Li Po, but eventually he embraced Confucianism and returned to the life in the imperial capital. Tu Fu failed to secure bureaucratic position, and after the fall of the Tang dynasty, he suffered financial hardship. He traveled about poverty until his death. Tu Fu's early poetry marked by lyrical praise of the beauties of the natural world. But as his own life became more difficult, elements of satire and expression of somber feeling about suffering of humankind entered his verse.
Chinese literature remains a hidden seams in the rich strata of Chinese culture. As a matter of fact, it is a treasure of a very considerable number of brilliant and profound works as each dynasty in the long history of China has passed down the legacy of magnificent events and works. Historical treasure for 3,500 years, the Chinese have woven the variety of genres and form of encompassing poetry, essay, fiction, drama, and each in its own way, reflecting the social climate of each day through the high spirit of art. This is the example of art from the Chinese from the 3,500 years ago. Famous works of Tao Ching and are famous works Tao Te Ching, The Art of War, Tang Poems, The Analects, Doctrine of the Mean, The Great Learning, and Classic of Filial Piety. Tao Te Ching Lao Tzu by Lao Tzu. Always without desire we must be found. If it is deep mystery we would sound. But if desire always within us be, its outer fringe is all that we shall see. By Tao Te Ching. The Art of War is by Sun Tzu. Now when your weapons are dulled, your ardor dumped, your strength and exhausted, and your treasure spent, other chieftains will spring up to take the advantage of your extremity. Then no man, however wise, will be able to avert the consequences that must be ensue. Uh, the, by Tang Poems and Tang Poems, how beautiful she looks, the opening of the pearly casement, and how the quiet she leans, and how troubled her brow is may see the tears now, the bright on her cheek, but not the man she bitterly loves. By Levi A Better Love. The Analects of Confucius. This is the long story by Confucius, the Analects. Pakibasa na lang pagka may time. Ito lang po yung aking nakayanang oras. Thank you po.